So we've got Theresa May here going on about the latest terror attack on Parsons Green, you know, and this is what it amounts to. Apparently it didn't go off properly. Otherwise it could have been a lot worse. And, well, apparently 22 people have been injured. We've seen people with a bandage around the knee, bandages around the head. Apparently children were involved as well, but not seen any images of those. And all I can say is that these Islamic terrorists, so-called, have come down a long way, haven't they, from 9/11 to that, a plastic bucket in a carrier bag on a train, left by the door. And if there was a firebomb went right through the train, why is there absolutely no trace of anything around this? There's no fire marks, there's nothing. It's not even melted the bucket. And this warrants armed police on our streets. Now, Theresa May, really, she needs to be facing criminal charges. Her, David Cameron, Ian Duncan Smith, all of them who've been in government, who were in ministerial positions of this government, and also suspected of vote rigging through the postal vote. We have lawful evidence that these Tories have been giving themselves extra votes and rigging the election. 200 votes suddenly go missing. Ballot papers went missing. That was enough to swing the election in every constituency, because all you need is a few thousand extra votes, and that takes out the vote of the public. And I've asked for these postal votes to be investigated. Nobody's done anything. Countless other people have asked. Nobody's done anything. You come along, oh, ISIS did this, oh, we need armed police. It's all too easy, isn't it? It's all too easy for somebody to go and do that, to justify the paranoia, the paranoid response. Armed police on our streets. Well, where were the armed police for what happened at Grenfell? That was a terrorist attack from ignorant authorities who couldn't give a toss about any human life if they have not got X amount of pounds in their bank account. And that's what the world's come to. You've murdered people with economic terrorism, driven people to early death and so-called suicide. Well, it's not suicide, okay? It is criminal manslaughter. That's what it is. Criminal manslaughter. Knowingly done. Because I would like to see any of you lot being stripped of everything you have and being told to go and queue up outside a food bank and even lose your homes. But that's what you've done to British people. The mother in the Hampstead case, she contacted you, Theresa May, about the risks and suffering to countless children in central London, as revealed by her crime report. I have shared it here in this Women's Institute video, and I sincerely hope that the women at the Women's Institute show to me and Britain that they really are women and not a set of gangsters moles, which obviously you are, Theresa May. Now, are they with you, the gangsters mole, or are they with me, a CSA survivor, a mother, an eldest child of 6 children, who's survived in this world, survived the worst of this world? No public school and pony trekking for me. I live in reality. You live where? Where do you live, Theresa May? In the fiction fantasy. And now, you know, I mean, apparently she's been injured. Well, I just don't see how it's possible for her not even to have a speck of anything on her clothing or hair. She doesn't even look like she's shed a tear. So whatever injuries she's got, I don't know. She doesn't look like somebody who's just been involved in a terrorist bomb explosion on a train. And it is really laughable when we look what this country has done to Iraq. Children are being beheaded on the streets for watching football. Muslim children are being beheaded for watching football. Muslim children are being hung for playing rock music. And you have the audacity to talk to us about the terrorist threat while you are bending down, bootlicking the Saudis, where it is legal to marry a 1-hour-old baby. Okay? That was confirmed in The Guardian. I've shared the link to it before. I'm not going to get it up again. It's there in black and white. 1-hour-old babies. That is what is going on. Children being so-called married to paedophiles, using Islam to give themselves rights to rape children. Just as in Britain, paedophiles are using the family courts to cover up their crimes and protect them and give themselves rights to abuse children. All you need is some police negligence, force and terrorise children into giving retractions, and that's it. Case closed. Thousands of trafficked babies left at risk. And you know, you must have read the UN Child Protection Report of 2014 that was widely published throughout Britain when you were Home Secretary. And they explained in no uncertain terms that thousands of children are being trafficked into London every year, and hundreds of them suffering in brutal religious ceremonies. And everything those two children said months later is supported by the UN crime report, is supported by past historical cases and present cases. And things have got to epidemic proportions. We're suffering a real terrorist threat in this country, and it's one against our children from your own authorities and all the evil people they collude with abroad, including fanatical Muslims who think they can use Islam to justify harming children. It is completely ridiculous. And I'm sick to death of hearing people, oh, Prophet Muhammad got married to a 6-year-old. Well, that is up for dispute. There's no proof that he got married to a 6-year-old. He was offered a 6-year-old. As far as I understand, he and his wives, because according to Islam, and nobody upheld Islam more than Prophet Muhammad, one, a man cannot get married to another, take another wife without his wife's permission. And also, the person, the female, has a right of choice. It has to be her own choice to get married. Forced marriages are forbidden in Islam. So how can a child choose to get married? And as far as I understand, the family agreed only to betroth the child, and when she was 9 they confirmed the marriage because the man was threatening to get his child married off to somebody else, and they confirmed the marriage, but that child was never touched by Prophet Muhammad. She was asked when she was 17 if she wanted to consummate the marriage or if she wanted a divorce, and she would have left the marriage with all her rights of property and everything that women had rights in Islamic divorce. And in the end she decided she wanted to stay married to Prophet Muhammad. She had her first child at age 18. Their only son, Prophet Muhammad's only son, who died as a baby. And his youngest wife, Aisha, went on to become a leader of her people, a teacher and a warrior. She certainly doesn't in any way represent somebody who's suffered serious sexual abuse from the age of 6. And there is absolutely no way that Prophet Muhammad would have forced himself on a little child. I do not believe that for 1 second. He had daughters older than her and younger than her, and she grew up in his household. So all this shit that even Muslims are using to justify getting married to little girls, sorry, paedophiles, you're all going to hell, okay? Because you have twisted the truth, ignored the reality of Prophet Muhammad and what he stood for. You've ignored the rules of Islam that forbid forced marriage and that have asked Muslims to live by new knowledge and to abandon old ways. Well, the new knowledge has proven without a shadow of a doubt that children should not be sexually abused. It damages them fundamentally. It creates children who develop all kinds of health, physical and mental health problems. Some of them even become promiscuous as a result, and it is killing our society. It's killing the children while they're still alive. They're being buried in hurt, pain and grief. And yeah, there is a terrorist attack. A terrorist attack happened in London in 2014. It's been going on for years. The Hampstead children reported it. A terrorist attack against our children. Now, I was reading in comments under this video people going on about Christians need to get together and stand up against these Muslims. Really? Where are the Christians of Britain then? Because I've written to the church, I've written to countless Christian organisations asking for help for children, and they've all ignored. A Christian society doesn't drive sick and disabled people to suicide. Okay? A Christian system doesn't deny people adequate health care by running down the NHS and handing it over to global corporations to make profits out of our public service. A Christian society does not hand over its benefit system that's established to help the poorest, most vulnerable people. It doesn't hand it over to private global corporations to make a profit out of. And the Christian people of Britain have stood by and watched that happen, said, yeah, well, yeah, let those global corporations make profits by vamping directly off the people that benefit system was set up to provide for in the first place. And Britain, what's wrong with you people in Britain? What is wrong with you? Why can't you just accept the evidence? This is my appeal to the Women's Institute. Why can't you just accept the evidence and stand up for yourselves? Demand that she goes to jail, that she faces charges, that David Cameron faces charges. All the evidence. Gordon Bowden, ex-RAF officer, devoted his life to the security of Britain. And nobody is picking up. The police aren't outside David Cameron's house, are they? For his economic terrorism that's shut down British businesses, robbed pensions with his fake AAA rated bloody companies. And, you know, I went out last night and there's just so many people there. They're all hello. And it's just like, what are you people doing? You're popping your pills, drinking, getting drunk, doing whatever. You know, what are you doing? Why aren't you waking up? You know, telling me about the children. Oh, they're doing so well. Oh, so-and-so's just had another baby. Really? Why have they had another baby? Why have they brought a baby into this world? What future has that baby got? Because she wants to dump a big, massive, huge debt on it. It is not on that baby, but on all the babies that baby might produce in the future. It's an unrepayable debt. They've said austerity forever. What? Is that why the universe created Earth and all? So we could all live in austerity forever, in insecurity, and our children being abused at will by whoever who can just get away with it because they're a high person in a high place, and lawful evidence can just be dismissed at the drop of a hat, and they can have a sham high court hearing that then months later the IPC totally negates. In fact, that judgment's void when you look at the IPCC report. But now, you know, it's armed police on the streets, and who knows, maybe we're all going to have to get searched now before we get on a train, because some ISIS person leaves, what, a plastic bucket in a bag, an incendiary device in it. Well, why isn't that seat burnt? Why isn't the carpet? Where's the black smoke around here? It's completely ridiculous. Look, there you've got even the bigger picture of it. There's not even a mark on the floor around it. How could that have exploded a firebomb through the train and yet the plastic bag isn't even melted? It's just completely, everything's upside down, everything's out of place. And what, you know, why are you doing trade with Saudi Arabia? Why have you just sold Saudi Arabia that's killing Yemeni people? For what reason? What reason is Saudi Arabia killing Yemeni people? You sold them the weapons to do it. Billions you've made. Funding and feeding terrorists, because it's their version of Islam that ISIS promotes. You all support each other. You Zionists, ISIS, Christian, so-called fucking Christians, except, you know, they're not Christians. They uphold the church of Queen and Pope. That church is not Christian. It's been Antichrist from the very first moment it established itself. And it took steps to stamp out true Christianity and replace it with its oligarchical interpretation. Exactly as Saudi Arabia did with Islam and Britain supported them. And exactly as the Zionists have done with Judaism. Well, the people of the world are waking up, and we're not going to stand for it. And I have witnessed Jarline, and I am sharing it, and I am disgusted that after writing for 25 years to every single so-called church, and none of them want to know about the event of light being that I witnessed in 1992 and the message of universal law of abundance and compassion, but instead the world's just giving me shit, because that's all Babylon has, isn't it, to give. Shit. And this is part of the shit, isn't it? You get the nice shit, don't you? The big pearl necklace and the big pearly earrings and the fancy life in the fancy house. Yeah, well, life is short, Theresa May, and I certainly would not like to be in your shoes when this physical body dies and you stand before your maker, and I can tell you 100% for sure that intelligence is real and you will be called to account. And all of you will. So you either start thinking at least even about your own souls and start making some amends. And we want this Hampstead case investigated. It's a terrorist threat against our children of this nation. You're dealing with the same kind of terrorists, but meanwhile depriving us of a means to live. You're depriving us of joy, our rights to joy, our rights to dignity. leaving us at risk, and our children can be just taken at the drop of the hat by these privatised authorities now, privatised social services, privatised childcare homes, making money out of public funds, again, to care for the most vulnerable, weakest people of our society, the children. They're going missing at an alarming rate. Trafficked children being taken into care are the least safe children in this country. Apparently, they can just go missing forever and nobody is even bothered what happens to them. Basically, it's assumed that they ran back to their traffickers. That's how easy it is to murder a child in Britain. If you're a pedo foster carer or care provider, you've got some trafficked children come into your home, well, that's basically a free-for-all. You could murder them children and report them as missing to the police. Oh yeah, trafficked child. Yeah, they're giving a phone number. That is what it says here. They're giving a phone number. Are largely going back to their traffic hours. Many are in debt or have been given a number to call as soon as they get into care. That apparently is what's happening to them all. They're all running away. So you've got your excuse already there, haven't you? Just get the child, murder the child, and bang, yeah, it's okay. Child ran away, gone missing. Well, we've had enough of it. And we, the survivors, we're going to stand up. We are going to bring this whole system down unless this system gets real. We want these. We want them. Okay? Child protection directives that protect children and prevent crimes against them. We want Britain to make them our own, and until you do, you're all criminally complicit in, because you know what's going on. The answer's there. You're wasting millions of public funds in this so-called IICSA investigation, which you don't need because it's already been done. How do you think these got written? Because there's been a full, thorough investigation into the whole issue. Playing for time, playing for time. Meanwhile, the thousands of children continue to get trafficked into London every year, murdered, and you evil criminal CSA gang that we know now that there's been a cover-up. There's no denying it. There has been a cover-up. And a mother forced to flee the country, herself persecuted and judged, but not one single bit of help for her children. And if that woman was in any way guilty, why then wasn't she arrested in September 2014 when the children apparently retracted? Why wasn't she arrested then? Why did it take for the case to go public and for there to be a High Court hearing, so-called, before that mother was suddenly judged guilty of torturing her children and plying them with cannabis so that they'd repeat all those horrific details to the police? No. None of it makes sense. You're not making sense. This so-called latest terror attack doesn't make sense. What's happened at Grenfell does not make any sense except in the context of we are dealing with terrorist authorities, and especially in central London. So we don't trust anything you do. We've already seen 3 false flag events, haven't we? And 9/11 was not the work of Muslim terrorists. Okay? And that is a fact. And you all think you can get away with denying this fact, riding on your lies. Well, it is going to come to a revolution. Okay, because that is what it takes when you've got absolute criminal, tyrant liars in power who will band together as an issue of national security to protect the most evil, dangerous, deadly paedophiles in Britain. That's not national security, okay? You're a criminal government presiding over criminal courts with a sham Christianity at the head of it. Well, as I say, I have witnessed Jarlight, and all of you will fall. So you better start thinking, you better start acting, and we want to see action for our children, because the Hampstead case is not going to go away. It is an example, a tip of an iceberg of what's going down in this country for decade upon decade upon decade, as the historical cases now prove. And there is an epidemic of terrorists operating in our country. And they're not injuring 22 people on a train slightly. No, they're murdering and killing thousands of children every single year. They're abusing and killing every single year thousands of children entering into Britain and in Britain, and especially the most vulnerable children in care. And you think you can have armed police on the streets over a fire in a plastic bucket? Seriously, I tell you, Britain, please wake up. I'll leave you the link here to this, to the Women's Institute. Like I say, if they can't help here, then what can we assume about the Women's Institute? Are they mothers? Do they have children? Are they actually human beings? What is going on in this country? What is going on in this country? What is going on? What is going on? After all this time, you know, the Rotherham survivors have been told that no, nobody in authority is going to have any actions taken against them for knowing what was going on and ignoring it. Okay? Because, you know, they were all striving to be so politically correct and didn't want to cause race riots, really. Absolute pack of liars. We know they kept those Asian gangs going because they knew damn well that that's where they were getting the children and the illegal drugs from. One or the other or both. They were all complicit in the money, the lot. So, I don't buy their cover story that, you know, they turned a blind eye because they didn't want to be seen as racist to Asians. As I say, go and ask any black community about their experiences with police and how many times they get stopped and searched. So, I ask you, Theresa May, this is your last chance, okay? It is the last chance of everybody in authority. You need to wake up. You are going to implement the Child Protection Directives. You are going to thoroughly investigate that Hampstead case. And if you don't, you are going to cease trade with Saudi Arabia until they update their version of Islam, as Islam requires. And as most Muslim people, the vast majority of them lived moderately in terms of the 21st century. They updated Islam. They didn't have second wives. They didn't marry the daughters off as children. They didn't get married to children. The vast majority of them. The vast majority of them in the Middle East are being persecuted and murdered by these people that we know your government has funded. The Zionists, the far radical, so extremist Christians, so-called. You're all in it together. Socialism for you and corporate communism for us, isn't it? Well, no, because all those corporations are made up of people. And when the truth finally breaks, every single one of them will be in fear for their very souls. But you think you haven't got one? Well, you're in for a shock, Theresa May, and so are all of you.